Hello friends, you are connected with Shatpal Verma from Government National College, Sirsa, Haryana. I hope you have been enjoying my video lectures. Friends, I have so far delivered three lectures on poetic form, and today is my fourth and last video lecture on the topic poetic form. And today's lecture is a practical lecture. Here you have to assess yourself. Friends, it is very difficult to identify a poetic form in a given poem or in a given stanza. So, here we have to ask some of the questions from ourselves, or you can say you have to ask some question yourself while attempting this question. So, without wasting any time, let us move to the next slide, and this slide contains question. Suppose you are attempting a question on how to identify a poetic form from a given poem, and of the record, let us say that the given poem is a sonnet. So what kind of question you are expected to ask yourself? So it can be questions to be asked or ask yourself. So what you are expected to ask yourself? First of all, you should learn the total number of lines of the poem. That is the poem that has been given for study. So you have to find out the total number of lines of the poem. Second is the form or the structure of the poem. I am speaking from the slide itself, so you should keep watching the slide minutely. The form or the structure of the poem. That is, what is the structure or the form of the given poem? Is there any pause or change between the units of form, units of structure, you can say? It means, do you find any pause, that is any change of idea, spin, or if you remember, I used the word while studying sonnet. I used the word volta. Do you find any volta between the units of form? Units of form here mean, friends, quatrains or stanzas. And the next question should be, does the poem follow regular rhythm, rhyme scheme or line length? That is, what is the line length of the poem? Do you identify proper rhyme scheme here? If there is a rhyme scheme, there must be a regular rhythm. So what is the rhyme scheme? If you remember the rhyme scheme of a Shakespearean sonnet or a Petrarchan sonnet, so you can identify. If the poem patently divided into parts, do you find that there is division in the poem? In how many parts is the poem divided? Is there any couplet used towards the end of the poem? So you can easily identify these things. That is, as far as couplet is concerned, while studying reading out the poem, a couplet is made up of two lines. So you have to ask this question, what are the questions that you have learnt, and these questions are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions. If you are in a position to answer these 7 questions, you will definitely identify the kind of poetic form used. So what shall be the next? Next is regarding dramatic monologue. Suppose a dramatic monologue has been given and you do not know of the record that this is dramatic monologue. So what questions you are expected to ask yourself, and then answer yourself. Towards the end of this video lecture, we shall attempt a practical of this question, that is how to identify poetic form. We ourselves will identify. So what kind of question should we ask? Is the poem a long speech? Dramatic monologue is a long speech. So you have to ask yourself, is the poem a long speech? Who is the speaker of the poem? Is the speaker speaking alone in one-way conversation? In a dramatic monologue, the speaker speaks alone in one-way conversation. Has the poem been addressed in the first person? In a dramatic monologue, the poem is addressed in the first person. So you have to identify these, you have to ask this question and then identify the same. Is there any silent listener? There is always one or two silent listeners in a dramatic monologue. So you have to find out. Can you identify the responses and reactions of the silent listener? You have to identify. You yourself will come to know regarding these questions and answers as well while reading the poem. But you have to read the lines or the poem very closely. Does the speaker reveal his own temperament through his speech? ये पता करना है आपको कि उसका टेम्परामेंट का पता चल रहा है हमें. What is the situation? Whether the situation is dramatic or not. Can you identify the tactics used by the speaker? आपको उसकी techniques, which kind of tactics he used, पता करना है. And what is the focus of interest? Whether the focus of interest is speak on speaker's argument or the speaker's character. So we have already discussed these points in detail, but you have to ask yourself. Next is lyric. Is the poem short or long? Does it express the feeling and thoughts of a single character? आपको पता करना है. Is it uttered in the first person? Whether the poem has been uttered or presented or narrated in the first person or not. Is it personal or subjective in manner? What is the manner of expression of the lyric? A lyric is always personal and subjective. Is the narrator speaking alone, thinking aloud? Speaker क्या अकेला ही स्वयं के साथ बातें कर रहे हैं, ऊंचा सोचता हुआ? Do you सोच रहा है? Do you have the idea of how the narrator is feeling at certain time about a certain subject? किसी subject के बारे में narrator क्या सोच रहा है? Is it uttered in public voice on public occasion? What is the occasion of the poem? It can be subjective occasion and it can be public occasion. And does it follow any rhyme scheme or not? So rhyme scheme you can easily identify. And dear friends, keep in mind that a lyric can be written in a form that follows proper rhyme scheme. That is, it can be written in a metrical form and a non-metrical form. Okay, so keep in mind. Next is ask yourself session, that is odd. Is it a long poem? Does the poem follow stanzaic pattern or irregular stanzaic pattern? What is the stanza pattern? Is the style elevated? Is the style grand or not? Is the subject matter and treatment serious or not? Does it express loft? It is actually lofty, that is noble, high standard. Does it express noble sentiments or thoughts? Is it public or private? Does it contain ceremonial or subjective occasion? What is the occasion? Does it glorify someone or not? किसी को glorify करती है या नहीं करती? So you have to ask these questions. So dear friends, it will continue, and you have to learn these things. Next is elegy. Is it a reflective poem? So elegy is a reflective poem. Does it lament the death of a public figure or someone's friend? What is the subject of the lamentation? Is the theme of the poem human mortality? Human mortality होता है. Does it contain? Does it end in consolation? आपको देखना है, इसमें सांत्वना दी जाती है. Is it a text to be sung? कहीं ये ऐसी टेक्स्ट तो नहीं है जिसको गीत के रूप में प्रस्तुत किया जाना है. फिर नेचुरली डर्ज एंड डर्ज इज ए सब स्पीसीज और ए टाइप ऑफ एल्जी. डज इट कंटेन ए सब टाइटल सच एज मोनोडी एंड थ्रेनेडी? मोनेडी और थ्रेनेडी भी हो सकती है. दैट इज अगेन एन एल्जी. Do you find an idealized pastoral setting in the poem? If there is an idealized pastoral setting, then it is a pastoral elegy. A pastoral elegy is again an elegy. Does it represent its subject in an idealized effort? An idealized effort is presented in a pastoral elegy. Is there any funeral procession in the poem? कोई funeral उसका अंतिम संस्कार का शव यात्रा निकल रही हो. Does it begin with invocation to the muse? क्या किसी शिक्षा की देवी, कविता की देवी की स्तुति की जा रही? Does it justify the ways of nature in the end? An LG always justifies the ways of God, ways of nature in the end. So you have to identify these questions. And the last is free verse. Does the poem seem an open form of poetry? You have to find out whether the poem seems to be an open form of poetry or not. Do you find the structure or form of the poem different from the form of traditional poem? Free verse is an open form of poetry, and it does not follow any traditional form. So it is different. Does it have a regular meter? क्या इसमें regular meter है? Regular meter आपको पता है stressed and unstressed जो syllable होते हैं वो. Does it have a regular line length? इसकी regular line length कैसे है? Does it follow a proper rhyme scheme? Means you have to identify whether it follows any rhyme scheme or not. Does it follow the rhythm of natural speech? A free verse. In a free verse, there is the rhythm of natural speech, like words, phrases, sentences, paragraphs, etc. Do you find its organization flexible? Flexible means that is suitable to modern idiom, modern way of living, modern subjects, and tonality of language. So you have to find out these questions. Now let's read an example. Let us practically identify the poetic form of a given poem. I am reading the poem. The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon. The sea that bears her bosom to the moon, the winds that will be howling at all hours, and are upgathered now like sleeping flowers. For this, for everything we are out of tune, it moves us not. Dear friends, it is clear that the poem is exclusively devoted, or you can say, to nature, and it is a commentary on the materialistic attitude of modern civilization. And if you see, the rhyme scheme is soon, powers, hours means A, B, B, A, moon, A, B, B, A, moon, hours, flowers, tune, A, B, B, A, B, B, A. It means these are 8 lines, and it signals towards a sonnet form. And first 8 lines we have in Petrarchan sonnet. And the rhyme scheme of the Petrarchan sonnet is A, B, B, A, B, B, A. So, dear friends, we shall read next 6 lines. Great God, I would rather be a pagan, suckled in a creed outworn, so might I, standing on the pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn, and sights of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his wreathed horn. So you can easily find out that in the 8 lines the writer has presented the problem of the negligence of nature on the part of modern civilization. In the last 6 lines there is a pause, there is a volta, there is a change of rhyme scheme as well. In the rhyme scheme there is C D B D B sorry C B B E and Warren. There is no matching, so C and D, T again C, forlorn again D, C C and horn D. So the rhyme scheme is CD CD CD, and this is rhyme scheme of Petrarchan sonnet. And in the sestet there is a volta, there is a change of idea, there is a change of rhyme scheme. Here the poet goes to the extent of saying that I would like to be a pagan, suckled in a, that is brought up in an outdated religion, than to be a Christian with no love for nature. So you do not need to go into detail. You have just to find out some superficial question which have been answered in the next slide. So the total number of lines of the poem 14. The form and structure of the poem 8 lines plus 6 lines. Is there any pause or change between the units of form? Yes, between line number 8 and 9. Unit of form can be quatrain and stanzas, octave first 8 line and sestet 6 lines. ये तरह का stanza है इसमें. Does the poem follow regular rhythm, rhyme scheme or line length? Yes. What is the rhyme scheme? The rhyme scheme is A B B A B B A C D C D C D. Is the poem potently divided into parts? Yes, 2 parts, octave and sestet. Is there any couplet used towards the end of the poem? No. So it is not a Shakespearean sonnet. Clearly it is an Petrarchan Italian sonnet. What is the poetic form of this poem? It is a sonnet, and more precisely Italian or Petrarchan sonnet. So it is very easy, dear friends, and in this way you can identify the poetic forms of the given poem. So the poetic form of this poem is Italian sonnet or Petrarchan sonnet. So it has become very lengthy video. Thank you for listening and watching my video with patience. So be positive, fighter always mean. All the best.